Hello, guys. Welcome to AMA, Comic Book Kickstarter AMA. So we're going to be discussing all things comic book Kickstarters as we were actually doing already pre-show. We are waiting for one more, which is Brant. He has a busy day, so hopefully he will make it with us. He also says internet it hasn't been doing the best today, but hopefully he'll be on with us. And the reason being is because we have a crossover print, which is actually the thumbnail of this video. So definitely go check out all our Kickstarters so you have a chance to get the print. We're actually making it numbered and signed by all of us. So very exciting. Yeah, and I have the links, either if you're on Facebook, it's on the post, all our Kickstarters there. So hopefully you guys could go literally back it for $1, and then you'll have a chance to get this at least digitally. And we're actually going to digitally sign it as well, which is cool. So Will actually came up with that idea. So I can't say I came with that because one of our backers were just like, hey, can I get it signed? And we're like, I don't know. Can we?
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's a great idea. But yeah, Will, tell us a little bit about your Kickstarter. Tell us the premise and all that fun jazz.
Okay. Well, stories are invading reality, and only a English professor and a research librarian can save the world from an unhappy ending. They're agents of Crossover Division, and their job is to push back when stories push into our reality. It's a lot of fun. We've got some great art on the series by Pablo Martinena and a certain Brant Fowler, who I don't know who he is, but he's doing the lettering.
I don't know who that guy is.
And design. Hardest working guy in comics, actually.
He definitely is. He wears a ton of hats for sure, which hopefully he did message us. He is going to be joining. I'm also trying to share this on Facebook all at the same time. There we go. Brant is on.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
What?
How's it going?
Oh, sorry, you cut out there for a second. It's
great.
Hey, thank you, Daniel.
Oh, we're live. I didn't even realize we were live.
We are live. Yeah, we had to go live because I was telling Will that if we don't go live, the Facebook kicks us off. So that kind of sucks. But Daniel has backed all three of us, so thank you for that. I think Brant is a little bit on the laggy side, so he's going to figure out his stuff. He's bowing to us. He loves us that much. He's praising us, really. But I'll talk about my Kickstarter then. Yes. It's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. If you back up the Kickstarter for as low as $1, you're getting 20 plus comics, which is crazy. So definitely go check that out. Any tier gets that. We are gearing up. If we get 300 backers, we actually get Will's vampire book. It's an actual volume, so it's not just an issue. So hopefully we get to 300 backers, and we're about $300 away from getting what are we even getting? A print of the villains of like Father Like Daughter. So look forward to that as well. We got James, who actually is the guy who gave us the idea for the crossover print. So thank you, James, for doing that. We appreciate it. And I'm trying to share this as we go along. And also the point of this is that we want to talk to you guys. So if you have questions about comics, access anything. That's what we're kind of doing here. So Brant, are you all good on your side?
I hope so. How bad is the delay?
Not too bad.
It's
okay. I just paused. Go ahead.
I think I don't think there's much of a delay. I mean, you seem a lot steadier now.
Yeah.
I just closed a bunch of tabs and paused Dropbox, so fingers crossed.
I think you're doing better. But as we have you, what is Last Ember about?
Last Ember is about a teenage girl who gets imbued with these abilities to create and control fire, and she later finds out that she is a fire goddess incarnate, the last of her kind. And now in this arc, in The Last Ember Hunted, there is a serial killer hunting down mythological beings like Ember, and he's coming her way. So that's the boiled down concept of it. A lot more going on in this issue, in this arc. Family drama, school bullies, all kinds of stuff. Lots of action. So go check it out.
And fabulous art.
Yes, gorgeous art. Yes, I'm very lucky.
And if you like the print, that's the interior artist for the book. So that was really cool that we have a version of all our characters in the Last Ember style.
Oh, and thanks. James has backed all three too. Thanks, James.
Thank you so much, James. And like we said, any type of questions you have, or else we're definitely going to ask each other questions. So one thing I was talking about with Will is kind of the mid-campaign slug. And that doesn't mean like, we're not getting any backers or whatever, because the slug happens in every campaign. It's not like no matter what level you're at, if you're doing a 30-day campaign, whatever you reached from your first 2 days is going to be slower in the middle of the campaign. Even if you're getting, let's say, 50 backers in the middle of your campaign, but you're getting 300 backers in the beginning of your campaign is 300 and then the middle is 50. So yeah, that's a lot of backers, but there's, compared to what you were getting, it's like, oh my God, you want things to pick up. So I wanted to ask you guys, how do you deal about the mid-campaign slug? Brant is not lagging right now, so I'm going to let him go first.
Okay, that's fine. For me, it can be a struggle, mentally. It's because you get such a strong start and then it just slows down. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? What can I do? Why are people not interested anymore? That kind of thing. All these thoughts go through your head, right? But I think the way I cope with it is I just try to keep momentum going. I try to find things to celebrate, things to get people excited about, get people talking about, anything and everything. I try to just throw out there. It's like, oh, we hit, another 5 backers, whatever. It's just, it's about keeping momentum going, and both for the backers and potential backers, and also for myself, ourselves, to keep us energized and positive throughout that slow time.
For sure. I think we definitely do it for each other. We talk each other through it, because it's just like, especially now, like the time we're in, the reason why we're doing a show like this is to, help each other out and speed things through. And you even think about the mid slug before you, well, at least if you've done Kickstarter before. And I guess if you're asking for advice for Kickstarter, know you're going to have that slug and have a plan of what you're going to do to re-energize your Kickstarter. Because what you're doing every day is promoting the same product. So how do you promote the same product differently? And it's hard. Let me just tell you, as someone, honestly, I'm getting tired of promoting my own thing. And, it happens. But Will, how is your mid slug going? We were kind of talking a little bit about it before, but what plans did you have previously to handle this?
Well, part of it is, the strategies around, milestone bonuses, celebrating the small wins, like, hey, we just hit 50%, or hey, we hit 60 or 75%, or we hit 100 backers or 200 backers, or things like that. Celebrating those things and keeping the campaign, kind of happy and fun, so that, hey, we've reached this. Here's some digital books, from creators I respect, or something like that. But it can still be hard. I mean, if I can sit here, and not that I would ever do this, but I could, maybe sit and reload the Kickstarter page a few times a minute.
Not like you'd ever do that. Not like any of us are doing that.
And when it hasn't changed, you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get another backer again, because just crazy stuff goes through your head. And the cool thing about having the plans and having been, you've been through it, Kat, Brant's been through it, I've been through it, knowing that it's going to happen, and then, having that plan and just taking a breath and and continue on with the plan. I'm going to try to promote on Twitter, and I'm going to try to promote on Facebook. I'm going to do an update today. I'm going to send something out to the mailing list. Something like that to make sure that I'm doing something positive instead of just sitting there and hitting reload. Not that I would do anything like that ever.
It's like you're using that anxiety, or at least for me, and maybe I'm speaking on my own, but I use my anxiety as a way to keep myself occupied and try to do something about it, right?
It's your tackling fuel, right?
Exactly. I'm definitely my tackling fuel for sure. And I was like, oh my God, this Kickstarter needs to have more going on. I gotta share this. I gotta be on 25 podcasts, and maybe they'll help. Maybe they won't, but at least I know I'm doing something to help the situation. So we actually have a lot of comments here. One, because I forgot to put the Facebook not on private. It was only friends. Now it's not. It's in public. But we did have a comment before that Paul backed up my Kickstarter. So thank you. I appreciate that. And we also have some other comments here. Danny McCullers for the dancer says, this job is great. Thank you. We also have James who says to Brant, which cover on your book has the flames on it?
Cover A or A1. In the add-ons, if you're talking about that, it specifies main cover. So.
And we also have Daniel who says, yeah, I've been noticing that with some recent Kickstarters with the backer slowdown after the first couple of days has to be aggravating. Luckily for this campaign, my slowdown didn't really happen until slowdown. I still been getting backers, which is great. But the slower down hasn't really happened until this week, honestly, which is great because a lot of times it does happen after the first 2 days. But I was very lucky that I had a good first week completely. And then things started to slow down, I would say, around this week, which is honestly not bad because this is more than halfway. And the last 2 days, as we know, Kickstarter pushes the algorithm, A, to be on the front page more, and then B, all those people that followed your page get notifications and emails that it's going to end soon. So you're going to see a higher backer amount then. And I have a pretty high following rate, so I'm hoping that will pick up even more for the last couple of days. So I'm not completely concerned with that. And also, I mean, so I was lucky on that, which is great. How about you guys? When do you feel like your mid slug kind of started?
Yeah, for mine, I had also, like you, I had a really strong first week. And then last week, with it being Thanksgiving and everything, that's when things started slowing down for me. I had like one really slow day, and then it was just kind of trickling in. I think it started to pick back up actually over the weekend, it picked up. And on Thanksgiving Day, oddly, I had a lot of backers on Thanksgiving Day.
I don't think a lot of people went out. That's why they're just like, I'm literally off. So only look through Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I had like six new backers on Thanksgiving Day, which was crazy. I didn't think I'd get any. So, but yeah, it started to pick back up a little bit now, and I'm really close to another milestone. So I think that's kind of excited people. And like you too, Kat, I've got a lot of followers on the page. So I think towards the end of the campaign, which I have 2 weeks to go still on mine, I think things will pick up nicely then too.
Yeah, I'm ending the earliest out of you guys, so that's honestly, I'm happy. I can't wait. I was talking about this with Will. Like, it's so great when you're doing a Kickstarter. You're definitely on a high, but I'm kind of done. Like, I need to sober up. I need to be sober because I just can't. It's too long. My last campaign was 25 days. This is 30, and I'm really feeling it now. I'm just really tired, and I need a break. And you can't take a break until it's over. I mean, you could, and you could fail, or you wait until it's over, and you wait until it's over and you crash, and that's kind of where I'm at. And like December 9th, because you'll be upset, and I talked to my friend Phil, who I'm sure is watching this at some point, all the time, where he's like, yeah, I still kind of have that phantom limb to check the page. And you're totally going to get that for a week, and you're going to feel empty and lost without the Kickstarter for a week. But then you're like, oh, thank God it's over.
Yeah,
I just have to do all of
and then you're like,
now.
where's that money so I can get that started and start the whole thing all over again.
Well, yeah. Which is what's nice is that the holidays is happening. So I could say I'm not planning my next Kickstarter until March. So we'll see if those plans change for the earlier or the later. But we have stuff in motion to do a March Kickstarter. And I think that's enough buffer time, I think that's enough time where it's just like, okay, it's soon enough, but also it's late enough.
Yeah, I definitely want to give Will a chance to talk, but you and ICAD may have something going on in February. So there's also that.
True. But I think that's going to be shorter. I don't think that's going to be a 30-day campaign.
No, I don't think I could handle that. We'll do shorter for that one.
15-day campaign, and then we'll say it's about comics, but it's not really about comics. Like, it's not about physical comics.
Right. But it's still, you'll know. We'll talk about it after these are over.
But yeah, Will, are you excited for this to be over? Are you done?
I haven't hit the. We talked about it being a marathon, and I still have some stamina. I think. I'm ending. You're ending when again, Kat?
I'm ending next Wednesday. I'm counting. It's like at 11:15 a.m.
The 9th.
I'm counting the hours. Yeah, I'm counting it down.
And I'm on the 11th, so I think I'm 2 days after you, and then Brant is 2 or 3 days after.
15th. Yeah, so 4 days after you. Yeah.
Okay.
God bless.
Yeah, I'm. I don't know. I had to kind of slow down about the same time probably Brant did. I think it's starting to get a little bit better. And you're right. Because we were talking during before we started recording about the way the Kickstarter algorithm works and what they do to promote campaigns that have just launched and campaigns that are ending. And so we get that, you start out high and then you have that slump in the middle. And I talk a lot with my hands, so hopefully you guys can see that. But I think one of the things that Kickstarter really did to help kind of the end as well is, I don't know how long ago it was, but they started doing, 8-hour emails that go out now. So you get the 2-day, the 48-hour email, and then another email at 8 hours. And I think that's great because that's, I missed the 48-hour one, or I got the email and I just ignored it, blah, blah, blah. Oh, now here it's 8 hours. It adds even more urgency to it. I think that's a really cool thing. I just wish, like you said, that they could mess with the algorithm a little bit to help projects in that bump, smooth out the dip, during the middle of a campaign.
Yeah. I do like, this is not related to that, but I do like, and I think we talked about it on the last thing we did, where they show like the recommendations at the bottom of updates and different things like that. So you get a little bit of extra love that you didn't get before. So.
Oh, and actually that reminds
that's something I definitely enjoyed.
I think I posted it in our private chat that we have that I got an update from one of the other people that I'm backing, and at the bottom of the update was Kat, Brant, and me. All three of our projects were the three projects they were pushing. And I was like, yes.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
really cool.
They must know we maybe have like similar I don't know. I was gonna say maybe we have similar backers, but that's kind of cool. Or it's just coincidence that end up happening. Now we do have a question from Paul, who is a backer of mine. So Paul wants to know about your Kickstarter. So if you guys want to remind them what it is, I'll be back in a second. So definitely go, Will, first. You talk about your Kickstarter, your log line.
My log line. All right, Crossover Division. When stories attempt to invade reality, only an English professor and a research librarian can save the world from an unhappy ending. As members of Crossover Division, they keep fictional realities from taking over our reality. It's a lot of fun, and it's got some great art by Pablo Martinena. And I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking. Who letters the book? I don't remember. Brant, do you remember?
I don't know. I don't know that guy.
Blanking. Don't remember that. Some loser. I'm kidding.
It is brilliantly lettered and designed by Brant Fowler, of course.
Yes.
He's on the team. So yeah, that's crossover division.
Yeah, and speaking of crossover, it's yeah, that's what I'm saying. All three of these funds, it's a win-win-win for me. You know, good. So for the last Ember, yeah, the last Ember is about a teenage girl who gets imbued with the ability to create and control fire, and she later learns that she is a fire god incarnate of her kind.
We got some of that, Brant. You started breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
He started breaking up, but just to give the log line that's on the Kickstarter, Ember is hunted by a serial killer, harassed by bullies, and nothing is
I know.
seen.
Am I good now? No.
Let's see.
No, you're still frozen.
One day, Brant's internet will be perfect.
But that
Brant's
day is
internet.
not today.
That day is not today by any means. But yeah, just to tell you, Paul, from the Kickstarter, Ember is hunted by a serial killer, harassed by bullies, and nothing is as it seems in the latest installment in The Last Ember. So that's this newest issue. But just to read what the actual book's about, Ember is the last of the fire goddesses incarnate, but she is not aware of this. All she knows is that one day the fire deep inside came swirling to the surface and her world has changed forever. Now she is the last Ember. A hooded figure watches her every move from the shadows while a serial killer hunts beings of power like Ember, slowly making his way to her. A lot of different genres all together, which is a lot of fun. I don't know if Brant's back or not. I saw him move a little bit. But that is Last Ember. And if you get enough details to find you on Kickstarter, Paul says. But yeah, if you back up all three, like we said, even if it's just for a digital backing, then you'll at least get a digital signed print. And if you get it for physical, you'll get a physical signed print that is numbered by all of us. So that is pretty cool. And all the Kickstarter links are... Oh, Brant's thing was swirling. It might be back now. We'll see.
I think one of these days he's gonna just freeze on. He's just gonna pretend to freeze. He's just gonna not move. Just to mess with
on
us,
purpose. Just to mess. Once his internet does work, like that one day, he knows it's gonna work. That's what's gonna end up happening. But yeah, so those definitely go check out the crossover print. That'd be very cool. I'm trying to think of what other things to ask. What do you feel like you learned about your Kickstarter in general, with this Kickstarter in particular?
Well, I think one of the coolest things I learned, the importance of the video. I really don't have a problem. There's Brant's back. For a while I was a professor and taught English. So, being in front of a classroom, being in front of a lot of people doesn't really bother me. But being in front of that single camera, I don't know what to do. So making the video is difficult. So I contacted M.K. Palmer she does a book called Meraki, and she did the video for me, and it is just spectacular. And I think that's helped with the campaign. I know a lot of people don't even bother with the video. I've done a campaign without a video, and
believe it or not, I don't. I do YouTube, and I don't do a video. I don't because when I go on a Kickstarter, I never look at the video ever, and it's honestly harder to get images. So
yeah.
I never do it.
Well, I'm surprised. I've had like 60 or 70 views of the video. Just
interesting.
Which is crazy. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that many, but it is a beautiful video, so I kind of understand it. I mean, it's she did an awesome job on it.
I have had
the video's number one. Where you guys say, Brant?
believe it or not, I've had 85 on mine, and at least a quarter of them have actually watched it all the way through. So,
damn. So, Brant,
Yeah.
what do you feel like you've learned from this Kickstarter in particular?
Oh man, I've learned, like I do every campaign, what actually appeals to backers. I think so. Like I did some higher end stuff, and like I did like recurring characters this time, and that went really well. But like I got these custom coasters made, and I haven't moved a single set. So it's like, it's just every audience is different, and different things appeal to different people. And I guess in this case, they just want the comic and everything associated with the comic, and not that extra stuff. Which is, I understand that, I get it. I thought they were really cool, and it just, maybe they're priced too high, whatever. But and I also learned that in my case, at least what I offered, the Black Friday deals weren't really the greatest idea because they didn't really work for me either. So, I mean, I think a lot of that is trial and error, trying to, you put things out there, see what works, see what doesn't. And then you adjust in the future for your future campaigns, and, try some different strategies. So, it's
honestly,
yeah.
I'm a little envious because you guys have kind of established. I mean, you've done a couple of Kickstarters with Ember, and you're on the 7th of, Like Father, Like Daughter at this point. So you established your fan base, and you've been building it. And then for me, this is the first issue, so I'm trying to find out who it really appeals to besides me, obviously. I love it. So, but I'm super impressed of creators' ability to do multiple issues on Kickstarter. I mean, it's just amazing, and you can see how a book evolves over time. With Like Father, Like Daughter, with Last Ember, or with Tart, by Kevin Joseph, or White Ash by Charlie Stickney. I mean, it's great, and I'm going to be modeling behavior of you guys to keep Crossover Division going.
Yeah, it's interesting because Kickstarter also, you don't see enough serializations. The ones you mentioned, and ironically, the ones that we're all part of a group, are the ones that are serialized, but I really don't know many books that like kind of go past issue 3. I have not seen a lot of like long running Kickstarters, but I agree. I think you find your fan base, you find different people, which is really cool as well. And I guess the thing I learned with this one, but I already kind of knew, is that you got to keep collaborating with other people and getting to know this.
Didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
This is now the spotlight's on me. I was like, wait,
I hit the wrong.
Did I do that? Did I do that with my mind? Yeah, but I feel like you just got to keep connecting with people. One thing I've already announced, but one thing that I'm going to be doing in March is a crossover with my good friend Phil, who does The Haunting. We're doing a one-shot. So what's going to be interesting, and we'll see if it works or not, but we have very different audiences. Will those audiences come for this one shot, A, and then B, will they stay and be like, oh, this series is cool? So the people that like Father, Like Daughter, are they going to like Haunting and want to buy all of it? Or, vice versa. So that's going to be interesting. And I guess, which is harder, just figuring out who's doing Kickstarters that month, which is definitely harder, because it'd be nice to plan crossovers more in advance, because like as much as we're up to the point of like update switch, you want to just talk, mention your Kickstarter in my update, and you do the same. That's great, and I love that we're doing that and giving shouts, but I feel like we could go a step further, and I don't know what that step further is yet, because there's so limited time. I mean, we knew we were doing a Kickstarter together, which is why we were able to plan this crossover print, but that doesn't always happen.
Right. Yeah, it would be cool to do more. What do you call it? More. More coordinated efforts. More. A little bit more than just the update swap like you talked about. The crossover prints like we did, and like Will did with with Tart. I think those are really great too. But I would love to try to do something different as well. Try to figure out something unique, some other way to collaborate that really gets you in front of each other's audiences.
Yeah, I hope to figure that out one day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I won't announce who yet, but I do have one creator that I'm a big fan of, and I know he's a fan of mine too. So one creator we're going to try in March to do like some type of crossover. We don't know,
nice.
to help promote each other. So that will be fun for sure. But you got to plan early, and sometimes it happens without you planning. And we were literally just shooting the breeze. We were just chatting, and it just ended up coming up, and we were able to come up with that, which is cool. We do have a couple of comments here, so let's get into those. We have Paul. I backed 15 projects, and more information, more connection, so much better. It gets a lead on the backer. Well, that's why we do shows like this. We try to allow people to know who we are and allow to know our voices here. Sorry if you hear some background noise. This is about the video. Really, I'm the exact opposite. A good video hooks me instantly. He says that Last Ember GIF is awesome. I added to my video with Kat because she mentioned that it was super cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you. That's really cool.
James also says, I'm buying all of Like Father, Like Daughter. I love hearing that.
Nice.
Love that. So interested to see Kickstarter creators start. Sorry. Always when Brant is on, my mom starts coughing. She's allergic to you.
She's allergic to me, yeah.
All day. She has a cough all day. She doesn't have coronavirus, but she just is coughing when Brant is always here. My mom is apologizing. Anyways, Super Mario says you're a cure to me, Cap, but your character for Like Father, Like Daughter kind of looks like Captain Marvel. I have to say I've never gotten that. So she's a cool character. She has a cool design. So that's interesting. That's cool. Any questions that you guys have that you wanted to ask, I guess, each other? Because those are my 2, 3. I don't even know how much I've axed at this point. I tried.
Yeah. Go ahead, Will.
So I was curious kind of what your guys' take. I mean, I've talked to other creators as well, and I think opinion kind of differs on this. But what's your thoughts on, I do them as well, but what are your thoughts on, other podcasts or stories on, comic sites? How effective do you think they are of driving, backers to Kickstarter versus, just reaching out within the Kickstarter ecosystem itself, with the updates and, things like that?
I know I'm going to go first because Kat's had she does a lot more podcasts and stuff and
go for
live streams and stuff than I do. But for me, it's like I think they're important for visibility. The more you do, the more you're out there, the more people see you, the more people get to know you, and eventually that's going to build your audience and your connection with the people that read your stuff. At the same time, I haven't personally seen a lot of backers from that kind of thing. 1 or 2 from everything I do, I think. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't do a whole lot of them. But the ones I do, it's like you interest a couple of people, and that's fine. Every person counts, so that's awesome. But yeah, I think the most important part of that is, again, the visibility, getting yourself out there, and just kind of getting people to know you. So.
Yeah, I think that's the point, is to maybe not even make a connection with their audience, but to make a connection with the person that's interviewing you, and to and I agree. I think the more you're out there, the more you're available and more that you're willing to talk, backers see that, even if it's technically not converting a backer or converting 10 backers. I also think it depends what show you're on. If you're on a comic-driven show, but I don't even know if that counts, because I've been on comic shows that get thousands of views, And I think maybe I've converted one backer because it was mainstream comics. And if they're doing a show on indie comics, they're probably not getting 1,000 views. So there's no easy medium on that one. You know, like you have the audience, you're probably still only going to get 2 backers out of it because it's about indie comics, or it could be about mainstream comics and no one cares. You know, you're talking to the wrong audience. Sometimes there's definitely a middle ground. Like, I mean, I don't know how much you read on a weekly basis, Will, but I know me and Brant, like, we read weekly comics and we, you know, make indie comics, and we like reading Kickstarter books and regular indie books. So, you know, there's definitely a middle ground, but, you know, not always there. We have a lot of questions from Ryan, who actually did do a podcast with me during this. So that was pretty cool. Definitely go check it out. What kind of growth do you guys look for from campaign to campaign? That's a good question. I would say what's more important to me is more backers than more money, in my opinion, because it means you're reaching more people.
Mm-hmm.
Will? Yeah, you go.
Oh.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
You're thinking, oh man.
I have to agree with Kat. I mean, I want more backers. I mean, I want them if they're a digital backer, you know, at the lowest tier, or if they're, you know, a super fan that's backing at a, you know, $200, you know, for original art or something. Because to me, it's about engaging with them so that, one, you know, they understand that my passion for the project, you know, that's really important. And two, that I, you know, am reaching readers. You know, I'd love people to comment on the book or what they've read, or, you know, the art, or anything, or, you know, that stupid writer, fire him, you know, something, anything, you know, feedback on the work, so that, you know, we can have conversations around the work. You know, is it work? You know, did this issue work for you? What did you think of it? Or, you know, why did it not work for you? It's really all about, you know, engagement with, you know, the people that are reading and buying our work. I mean, that's the important thing to me. Now, am I going to lie to you and say, I'd love to have a $10,000 Kickstarter? Of course I would, but I don't think I would want to have a $10,000 Kickstarter at the cost of any backers. I would prefer backer growth over just monetary growth of a project.
Yeah, as much as if someone wants to give $1,000, like, yo, I'll take it. But if I had to trade it for 100 backers, I think I'd rather take the 100 backers than the $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
100 backers, that might be $1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to throw it out there that I was trying to weigh between money and backers. No, I was trying to gather my thoughts.
No, you wanted the money, and that's why you're like, I already know my answer.
Of course, I want every aspect of the campaign to grow between one and the next, obviously, but yes, backers, but also not just backers, but the overall audience. Like, every campaign, I try to at the end, I try to drive people to my email list and to my site and all this stuff to kind of keep them in my world and share, you know, more of what I'm doing with them, so that it grows the overall audience, so that will lead to more backers for the future campaigns, obviously, and you know, hopefully that also leads to more funds, which is great because you can do more, you can create more. But yeah, no, I think the connection with the people that are supporting your stuff is the most important aspect of this, because they're the ones that keep me energized and keep me positive and pumped up to keep creating it. I mean, obviously, I create it because I love it, and, you know, I'm going to keep creating if only 2 people read it. But it definitely helps when more and more people find your stuff and they're interested and they're enjoying it and they're entertained by it. And, you know, it just makes me want to create more and more and faster and better.
Well, you know, those artists, they want to, like, eat and wear clothes and have a place to live. So they're not cheap. And that's the great thing about comics is, I mean, you know, we have our group where we talk about stuff and we kind of, bounce things off of each other. But collaborating on a comic is just awesome. I mean, I get to work with Brant, doing some really cool designs and coming up with some awesome stuff for the book. And I get to work with Pablo, who is an amazing artist that, I wouldn't have had a chance to work with unless we had done this book. And plus we've got, Hassan Osman Elhau, who is, I have to say this every time, guys, he is an Eisner Award winner who's editing our book. That's awesome. But yeah, it's just getting to work with, and I'm going to use it every time I talk about the book.
As you should.
But it's so great getting to work with, other creators because, all you guys bring something totally different than my experience. At just the diversity of viewpoints that come in, because I can get so head down into something that I can't see my way out of it because it's just, this is the work, I must do the work, and I hope it makes sense. Well, having you guys there, both on the team and off the team, looking it over and going, I don't think this works. And, that can bring me out and say, oh, you're totally right. I was trying to do this, and let's try it some other way. And it's just great. I mean, I just love to collaborate on comics. It's the best.
Here's a good question from Ryan as well. Where do you find the most engagement in conversation coming from for your organic advertising? Most engagement, and this sucks because it's not happening right now, is Comic-Cons for me. I see a lot of returning customers, which is so awesome. I love seeing familiar faces coming and saying, hey, I want issue 3 or I want issue 4. So I love that. And maybe because I'm seeing them face to face, it's easier to say that's where I get my most engagement. I would say Comic-Cons, but I also get engagement online as well, and like Twitter, but also like because I do comic reviews and I do other stuff in comics, I feel like more people talk to me about that than they do my comic on the internet, at least when you weigh the probability, just because that's what they know me for. But when you see it at a Comic-Con, I do have people who like know me for Comic Uno, but a lot of people maybe start the conversation by like, hey, I watched your show, and then when they come back they're like, oh, I love your comic. So yeah, that's always hard to marry as well to do both, but yeah, I would say Comic-Cons for me.
Well,
I think for me okay,
Brant is gonna talk more about this, but if you go see Kat at a con, be prepared. I have heard tales of the legend of her ability to engage with an audience and sell and move copies of books.
Thank you.
I am amazed at the tales. I want to see this in person one of these days.
Me too.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
I've heard the stories too, Will, and I got to see in person. Yeah, for me, I think the most engagement and conversion is from Facebook and from my my newsletter that I put out weekly. And I think those two sources and just people organically finding me on Kickstarter are probably the 3 biggest sources.
I'm not to just copy everything that you guys say, but I think Brant really kind of gets it for me. The newsletter is probably where I get the most engagement, and at this point I've got I think an ad running on Facebook to point people to the mailing list at this point. And as people come in, I get more engagement with them because one of the things I like to do, and I think you guys probably are the same, is I like to talk about what I'm working on. I also like to share like stories that I've submitted to anthologies, or here's some cover art. Oh, here I'm sharing the art that Connor Hughes did for one of our alternate covers. So yeah, I mean, I really do think that probably the newsletter is where I get the most engagement. Twitter, I get some, but it's typically engagement with you guys. So I don't know if it really counts. I mean, I love talking with you guys on Twitter too. So I don't know. I really think probably my newsletter, and that's one of the things that, with backers from that earlier question, more backers means that perhaps I can do what Brant says and keep those people in my world, via the newsletter, and then start really building that audience for the book over time. So yeah.
We also have a question from Ryan. What are some of the more effective types of stretch goals you have offered? Effective? I would say probably the indie bundle. So people love free stuff. I don't know if people love the prints. I haven't heard oh my God, this print's amazing. But I don't know, but they're easy for me to do. And it's a physical thing to give, so that's always nice. But yeah, I would say giving other people's comics is my go-to. Brant,
I think that's I think indie bundles are really good, and something I think when we did a cover stock upgrade, those kind of things, enhancements to the book itself are really popular. Sometimes, it's aside from that, most of my stretch goals are things like buttons and bookmarks and things like that. So those are just cool extras. But I think it's the indie bundles and enhancements that I found most effective.
Yeah, I think that's indie bundles are great for two reasons. One, it is free comics, right? But the second thing about them that's great is I'm exposing readers to other creators' work, and that's one of the great things about the indie comic scene is that comics in general, it's just everyone is so supportive. I mean, it's hey, sure, yeah, here's a book you can give away, or great, thanks, here, take my book, and it's really very mercenary on us people that are sharing our books. I want all their readers, ha 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 ha. No, but yeah, I would say the indie.
No, yeah, I agree. It's cool. Okay, sorry.
But yeah,
I think we're all delayed.
Yeah, we can, or is Brant the only one not delayed now? I don't know.
Maybe
he's actually in the present time.
I actually have an idea for a stretch goal, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I worry that people think if I start talking about stretch goals and we haven't hit funding yet, that I'm being presumptuous or arrogant, and I don't want to come across that way at all. So I haven't really mentioned stretch goals, but once we get close, or once we hit funding, one of the stretch goals I think is going to be me getting a tattoo, because the characters use tattoos to protect themselves. And yeah, I will get a tattoo as a stretch goal.
That is one stretch goal.
Yeah.
I'd throw an extra $5 or $10.
And then record it so that people can see me how big a weenie I am. Ow, that hurts. No.
Oh my God, that's
still
cool,
better than
though.
me. I couldn't do that.
I don't know if I would ever do it for a stretch goal. I don't know.
I don't know that I ever do it, period. I don't like pain. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would be a lot of pain for sure. For your goal though, I don't know. If you get 10K, I think Brant would be getting some finger tattoos, maybe a tear. Well, maybe I don't know, a face tattoo.
Yeah, there you go.
No face tattoos on this face. One of the things I thought about doing for several campaigns was shave my head, but I've already done it now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't. It won't be too drastic. I will not be shaving my head for anything. So I don't think I'd do that.
Yeah, I did that and shared the pictures with my newsletter. I was like, this is the first COVID haircut. Right now, I've got the hat on because the hair is just out here. So, but I did, and I shaved it and said, this is me doing. This is my first Corona haircut. It's crazy.
You should have waited for the Kickstarter. Maybe for your next haircut, you should just shave it all off then. We do have another question from Ryan. Trading cards are getting more and more popular. Is that something you guys look at for your own project? Was a trade-able commodity that does interest you? Honestly, nothing. I really like to focus on the comics. I know a lot of people are like into the dazzle of other stuff, but I don't even really like shirts. You know, like I feel like unless I know I have a fan base that will fund my book in less than a day, I don't think I'll have T-shirts. I don't think I'll have trading cards.
Trading cards is something that we've thought about, but it again, it's that thing where a lot of people just want the comic, right? It's as a backer myself, it's a very specific item that I'll find that like really appeals to me. Like Tyler did the Welling Blade collection recently, and they had the Welling Blade enamel pin, which is shaped like exactly like the blade, and it just looked really cool. So I was like, okay, I'm getting that. But usually I'm just like, that kind of stuff is just bonus. But I did see, I've been looking into metal stuff, and I just revealed that my next milestone is a metal bookmark. And I saw some metal trading cards that looked really cool. So if I did go trading card route, I might go that route. So
that's cool. See, if I did anything metal, I feel like I would do a metal cover. Like I would want to do something for the comic, because like again, this is just me, but when I get stuff with a Kickstarter that's not like, unless I like, let's say it's Brant's Kickstarter, like a friend's Kickstarter, I really don't want it. I'm just like, I don't really care, because like unless I have an attachment to a Kickstarter, again, like Last Ember or crossover, I don't really need it. I don't. Yeah, like Last Ember,
Nice.
I was happy to get a bookmark. I was happy to get a coaster. Like that was cool. But that's not for every campaign for me. So that's why I don't particularly do it. Just because I'm like, I don't like. I don't know. I don't want it. But other people do. Yeah. People said they love the video, and I said I don't like doing the video, and I don't watch it. So
it's so funny because there are fans of all different types. Like all three of us have a few friends that are like very outspoken. All I want is the comic. I don't care about any of that other stuff. But then I'll find people that are like, oh yeah, they collect buttons or they collect pins or whatever. It's interesting because you just never know which audience you're actually reaching. So yeah,
I think for me, I think I really lean toward enhancements to the books. Like cover stock or spot varnish or even glow in the dark or cool things and those are kind of secondary even for me, because I think I would rather put more pages in the book. I want to try to deliver maximum value. So if it's a 48-page book and we've hit funding and maybe a stretch goal is, hey, we're going to add 4 pages of pinups, or we're going to add something to make it better, or 8 pages, or just something to make the book that much more valuable from a reader's standpoint, I think. Or maybe, hey, it's another cover. Yeah. Or it could be minifigures.
That's true. Minifigures as well.
Those are cool. Yeah.
See, I agree. Minifigures, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm actually there's some if we get to that point with stretch goals, there's some enhancements to the book that I'm thinking of. I'm kind of weighing options, so we'll see what happens.
Let's get into more questions. They actually Ember stuff. I get more Ember stuff. We do have another question from. Oh man, we have some really great questions from Ryan. Thank you so much, Ryan. These are awesome.
Yeah.
He says, how much of an audience do you think you need, however you quantify that, before you launch your first campaign? I would say it depends on what your funding goal is. If it's like $500, then all you really need is your family and friends, right? Because you're probably going to make $500. But if you're looking, and most comics are about $3,000 to $5,000 to make. If you want to print it, that's usually the price that you're going to be looking at. So I would say, I don't know how much the number of people, because you won't know until you launch a Kickstarter, but you have to be part of this Kickstarter community. You have to promote. People need to know who you are. But I would say the most important is support other Kickstarters if you want to be part of this and want to launch your own Kickstarter.
Yeah, I don't think it matters as much how many people you have in your audience, as like Kat was saying, adjust your expectations and your goals accordingly. So like this is advice I'm regurgitating advice I've gotten from Tyler, but like if you have this big comic, this oversized comic that you're wanting to put out, and it's going to cost you several thousand, kind of break that up into a mini comic or a zine or something like that, and fund that if you have a smaller audience, and then you build your audience on that, and then you do the full thing later on and that kind of thing. So I don't think you really have to have like some set amount, some magical number to launch. I'll say that my first campaign that I ever did on Kickstarter, I had about, I'm wanting to say like 115 people on my newsletter, something like that. It was modest, and I launched a $3,500 campaign, and I funded, overfunded actually. So it's about, like Kat said, building that connection with the community, putting yourself out there, and cross promoting and marketing and all that stuff. So it's possible with even a small audience to fund a higher goal like that.
I would also say understanding what Kickstarter is, because I see a lot of people who just launch a Kickstarter thinking they could put a paragraph on a page without images and think they're going to get funded. And I'm like, no. I mean, maybe you will. Good luck. Also knowing like your tier, you're like how much money you're going to make for a tier. Because like if you're making a comic $30 and it's 10 pages, you might not get a lot of backers,
Yeah.
So you have to know your prices as well.
Well, and I think too, I mean, I've been really surprised in a good way about how well digital does. I mean, Ryan K. Lindsay's done some digital only campaigns, and they've funded really well. And then Farhan, who's in the Comics Launch group with Brant and I, he did digital only first, and then after the digital funded, came back and did a print copy of it. So it's there's lots of different strategies that you can use, but to regurgitate more advice from Tyler of Comics Launch is that it's crowdfunding, but you have to bring a crowd. So the more fan base you've built, the more successes you're going to have, and that's the great thing about Kickstarter is those successes can build on each other and kind of start snowballing, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I should also, qualify what I say, because I don't want people to think that, you can just go out there and, fund big. I did not stop. Like that first campaign, I ran it for 30 days, and I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed.
It also was a good looking page. Like that's also another difference. It's just like you knew what thumbnail you needed to use. You had preview pages. Your prices were good. There's so many things that go into it that I see a lot of newcomers not quite understand.
Yeah. And, you're, again, even if it's a small audience, you have to have some kind of audience that's interested in your product, or you find them while you're running the campaign. I've done campaigns that have not funded. And, we thought we had the audience and we had a good looking page and a good looking book, and it just didn't work out. So in those cases, you... not to change the subject, but you retool, you adjust, and you come back, and then you fund, which we did.
And I think even that goes to a successful campaign. To be more successful, you have to retool. You can't keep putting out the same thing. I know from the last page I did looks very different from the page I did this time. I already have ideas what to do for my next page to look different, or have a different strategy to bring more people. Like I said, I'm doing the crossover with Phil. So you have to have other ideas. You have to like rejuvenate. Even if you did well and you met all your expectations, you better have higher expectations when you launch for the next Kickstarter if you want to do better.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Otherwise it gets stale. You have to keep swimming, to quote Dory.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you do got to keep swimming for
it's
sure.
It's so true though. Yeah.
We do have another question for Ryan, even though he said he's got to bounce. But what are some of your goals over the life of a campaign funded in the first 48 hours? I think you always have your mental goals, right? Like for me, to actually get the production of the whole book done, because I've done like Twilight Daughter, so I know the prices for printing and art. They're all the same because it's the same book. Different story, same book. So I knew how much the price was going to be, and I knew what extra stuff I could do to kind of have the the budget. So we needed about $5,000 and we met that goal. And yeah, I feel like you got to know your budget. I actually already forgot that question. What are some of your goals over the life of a campaign? Okay. Yeah. So having bigger goals. So in my mind, yes, the 5K was the goal because I wanted to pay for production. But for me, like, if I'm being honest, well, I don't want to say the goal because I don't want to put it out there. I don't want to manifest it out there, but there's a certain number of backers and there's a certain number of money I'd like to get for this campaign. And that might have not been the funding goal, but that was the cap goal. So I think that's always something that I guess rejuvenates you to work harder, is to get to that goal.
Yeah, I think like some of the internal goals that we all kind of have, it's things like he talked about being funded in 48 hours or whatever. Like for this one, I was really hoping to get like 50% funded by day 2. That was just kind of my internal goal, and eventually, as I grow and, the campaigns get bigger, maybe that'll, I'll want to be funded in day 1 or whatever. But yeah, those kind of things do crop up. It's like, I want to hit this percentage by this time in the campaign. If you planned it out right, you have like, periods in the campaign where you want to promote certain stuff, you kind of geared yourself into that mindset. So like you're pushing towards those milestones. And again, that's both for the backers and for yourself to kind of keep you moving. And so you don't, stop and, fall short of what you're trying to achieve.
I think, I kind of agree with Brant. They're, funded in 48 hours or funded in 1 day or funded in 1 hour. You see those little tags on a lot of campaigns. I think those are kind of cool, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, if I've funded in an hour, then I don't feel like I've set a goal. I haven't set a goal properly, because there's at least in my mind, and then that's just my opinion of someone who's had a failed Kickstarter too long ago, and then also has had some successful ones. But I think it's those are cool. Hey, being funded in 48 hours is awesome. I don't care who you ask, but because I feel like that as soon as you hit funding, the pressure's off. You can kind of take a breath and you can relax a little bit. So funding as soon as possible is great, but also I think setting a goal is part black science and art and some voodoo as well, because part of having that goal out there is that also energizes your backers to help share the thing more, and to get other people on board. So not hitting your goal yet is a way to get it out there in front of more people. Is that correct? I don't know. It's kind of the way I feel sometimes. So it's voodoo. I don't know I don't know the magic behind it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like we keep talking about there are different strategies and things, and there's different mindsets. And like I know a few creators that they purposely set really low goals so they will fund faster, even though that's not the goal they need or the goal they want. It's just to get that momentum going. Oh, I'm funded in a day. Let's build upon that. And some of them do very well, and they've built their audience and built their campaigns to where they set those really low goals and still come out with like $15,000-$20,000 by the end of the campaign. It's like, so it's just you have to find what works for you. And
absolutely,
I think we're all still trying to find those balances and trying to figure out the best course of action to take with our campaigns. And maybe, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure things out. Always.
Oh yeah. Again, I say this in not every show I do, but when this question kind of comes up, but I don't believe an expert really exists, I feel like once you think you're an expert in something is when you suck. It's when you really, when you're doing it all wrong, because there's always room to learn, I think.
Don't believe the hype.
Exactly. I think if you talk to Gordon Ramsay, he'd probably say, I could learn 1 or 2 things about cooking, you learn from different chefs. Same thing for this. You learn from different Kickstarters. Everything's different, and yeah, no one's an expert. So I hope you learn from every Kickstarter for sure. Jeffrey,
and that applies to. I'm sorry. That applies to just that applies to the writing, to the art. That's everything. We don't know all there is to know about any aspect of this.
Oh yeah.
And I saw it I was on Facebook a little while ago, and Bill Sienkiewicz had posted something where he was just messing around, trying to figure things out. Bill Sienkiewicz is still figuring things out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We do have a question from Jeffrey. How did you get the idea to use Kickstarter to launch your comic series? What was the inspiration that got you started here? Honestly, back then I was like kind of the only route you had. Like I was 19 when I made like Follow My Daughter Issue 1, I believe I had to be 19 or 20. And I was just like, I think, Veronica Mars had just done their Kickstarter. So I was like, I'll do a Kickstarter. And it was really at that time the only way you could get off the ground. I think there's more opportunities, and it's only been 5 years, but to do like a webtoons, to do tapas, to do other things. But back then, it's all I really knew. And there's more avenues now. Not that I wouldn't not do Kickstarter. I just think you could do all those avenues now that I've learned. I think there's an opportunity to do Kickstarter and webtoons and whatever. So yeah.
For me, when Kickstarter was first really getting out there, I was doing my Wannabes series, and I actually created my first campaign for that. It's still on my account. I never launched it. Things kind of fell apart with that, and I moved on. But yeah, it's still there. It's kind of funny. But it was years between that, and we actually put out the first books for Last Ember Press ourselves, and we did put those out self-published, did the convention thing, and then when it was time to really go forward with The Last Ember, that was when we were like, we want this one to be, this is our flagship character. We want this one to do really well. We want to get this out there in front of more people. And at the same time, I kind of happened to see Tyler's promos for comics launch. And so we just decided right then and there, we're just going to go all in with this in Kickstarter. And I think I was already planning the Kickstarter and joined comics launch a week before we launched. So I was trying to run through all the lessons and everything. And Tyler actually, to his credit, he gave me access to something that wasn't unlocked for me at that time, just so I could have, that information going into my launch. And so yeah, that's kind of why we turned to the platform and just kind of never looked back after we were on there. We loved the community and just the experience so much.
And also before Will starts, I just want to say, if you guys have any more questions, last minute questions, please add them now to the chat. So go, Will.
So for me, it was because Diary of Night was published through a publisher that was listed in Diamond. So they did the 4 issues, and that was several years ago. And so the book was done, and I wanted a trade. I wanted a hardcover. I wanted a trade, and I wanted it badly, really, really badly. And I tried studying some stuff, looking at other Kickstarters, and I had no clue what I was doing. And the first Kickstarter failed, and then I ran into Tyler's Comics Launch podcast and the Comics Launch course, and haven't looked back. The team and I talked about this a little bit, and I talked, I think, with you guys and some other creators about whether or not to go with a publisher for Crossover Division, because we had done an 8-page story that was kind of our publisher pitch package that we had been working on. Well, COVID hit, hope everybody knows that it's hit at this point. Mm-hmm. And publishers just stopped. Diamond just stopped. And I got to thinking that, okay, Kickstarter didn't stop. We could still have a Kickstarter and get our comics out there. So I started thinking that, and looking at, Like Father, Like Daughter and Tart and, even Last Ember and, some books that have had multiple, Miskatonic High, I think is up to issue 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Looking at these creators that are serializing, stories on Kickstarter, I thought, that takes the publishers out. I'm not ruling out publishers if they're interested, but I don't have to depend on them. I can just depend on the platform that's there to help me make comics. And that kind of, I think, made up my mind that I wanted to go all in on Kickstarter and, serialize crossover division out there because, I could depend on fellow creators and, the team, our creative team to make it, and then Kickstarter to help me get it out into readers' hands. Kickstarter is just so amazing, that I comics has never seen anything like this, and so many comics exist now that wouldn't and couldn't exist until Kickstarter came along. It's a great tool for us indie creators. It really, really is.
Yeah, and it's so cool. There's 2 things I want to say real quick, and then we can get to some more questions or whatever. But it's so cool because aside from going down Artist Alley at a convention, it's hard before Kickstarter, especially, it was harder to find really great indie comics. It was there was no like gathering place to where this is this storefront with all these indie comics or whatever. But Kickstarter, you're opened up to so many amazing projects that it's like, where have these been my whole life? Right? It's really cool that people are able to use that platform and get their creativity out there. And I just wanted to add about just a small little plug, since Will and I are both part of the Comics Launch Pro course and community. I'd actually known Tyler for a few years before that. When I discovered his Kickstarter stuff, he actually used to write for a site that I ran. I co-ran with my friends Chuck Moore and John Wilson, Comic Related, and he wrote like a series of articles called Creating Comics. And so I knew he knew his stuff, right? I knew he had a lot of knowledge to share. And then when I saw the Kickstarter stuff, I noticed that, I looked him up and noticed that he had, really great experience on Kickstarter too. So it was like a no-brainer. So I was like, I know this guy, I trust this guy. I'm going to go all in with this. So I just wanted to add a little context to that. But, yeah.
Well, you mentioned, great Kickstarter comics that exist. I think like a giant tidal wave of those comics have been launched in the last 45 days because,
yes.
Oh my God.
There's been
so
some
crazy projects.
It's interesting too, because I guess this is the last gate for Kickstarter, even though I'm seeing people launch during December, like during the holiday time. And I'm like, oof, good luck. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's hard. That's going to be a hard trip to launch anytime after. Honestly, anytime after Brant ends is already getting into charted. I would say like the 20th of December. That's when you're starting to get into charted territory. I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we had so many November Kickstarters, because people didn't want to do that.
It's so strange. I mean, we've talked about this elsewhere too, that like there's more projects in the comics category ever right now. And in the year that we've had, it's insane to think about it, that so many are on there and so many great projects. And I am backing more projects at once than I think I've ever backed.
Oh, I think
ever.
I have like 15.
And it's just like I'm looking at my list. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I hit about 15 as well.
Yeah, it's just like
it's nuts.
Yeah, it's about the same for me, and it's
my bank account. It doesn't appreciate it, but I'm like, you know what? These are. I mean, so I think I mentioned this on another when we were talking before, but if you consider Kickstarter kind of a comic shop, right? Our books were in the comic shop on the stands with a Kickstarter by Alan Moore, okay? Or It just blows my mind, and there are great established, mainstream creators that have come to the platform, and that's awesome because they're bringing more people to the platform. I mean, it's just it's awesome. I mean, Scott Snyder brought a big, Kickstarter. The Keanu Reeves Kickstarter, that brought even more people to the platform. So it's just such a great thing that, not only are other, we can, we use the platform to fund, our creativity, but we also give back and fund other people's creativity. It's a great thing about Kickstarter. It gives us the ability and encourages us to do that. It's awesome.
We do have a question, I think, from James. I'm sure you guys have already thought of this. You need to get a signed copy of that print on your Kickstarter page. It'd be such a game changer. It'd be just, yes, take my money.
Well,
you definitely can support all three of us. And as you know, James, as you are getting the marked number one print, we'll see for the future. Maybe I could definitely see using it for stretch goal. I don't know if it'll be signed though. We want to make it special for people who back all three of our campaigns. The reason why we made the print.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but those. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'm getting an echo. I don't know if anybody else is, but I was just going to say I think we are all three signing this print, though, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we are.
I think did he maybe mean that we should put that on our Kickstarter page, saying, "Hey, get this print"?
Oh, because I have it on mine already.
I may have forgot to put that part on there. The print on there, but yeah.
We should do that, Brant.
We should.
I was on top of it, so it's on my Kickstarter page. Brant and Will, after today, it will be on theirs.
Yes.
Oh, that's what James meant. So it is on mine. Will and Brant, they gotta get on it.
We're slackers. I'm a slacker. Brant's not. He's the hardest working guy in comics. I am a slacker, though.
Someone, SM Down did not know that Keanu Reeves did a Kickstarter for Kickstarter. He did a comic. Yeah, he did a Berserker for Boom Studios. It was the graphic novel collection.
Berserker, yeah.
That was October, I believe. October was also a crazy month for Kickstarter. That's kind of crazy.
Scott Snyder one. Scott Snyder was in October as well, I think. Yeah. And
David Paposi was during that time as well. So there's a lot of great on different level Kickstarters. So that was pretty awesome. We're gonna explain our Kickstarters one more time. So this is the chance for your lightning round questions, if you guys have it in the chat. If we have any, I don't have any supplied here, so I don't think I have any lightning round questions. But yeah, for me, I'm gonna start screen sharing some of these campaigns. I'll start with Father Like Daughter. You do not need to see that graph. My Father Like Daughter, it's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her. And then she inherits his abilities. So these are some of the covers you could get. If you back this up for as low as $1, you're getting 20 indie books, over 20 indie books, including Tart, which is the Volume 1 trade. We are so close to reaching our stretch goal. We have to get to 300 backers to get Will's vampire book. So hopefully we get to that by the end of the campaign. And then also $7,500 for I'll show you the stretch goals, for the villain print, and then also $8,000 for Comic or Girl print. And I will say $10,000. I do have an idea for a stretch goal. So if we get $10,000, I think there's a pretty cool stretch goal there for you guys. So now we're gonna go to Will. So Will, do you want to explain yours?
Sure. And Kat gives us an excellent teaching point right here. Always fill out your surveys fast, please.
See, mine, if you look, this is not even the survey. I don't get emails anymore from Kickstarter. They keep bouncing back.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I I fill out my surveys. I
I
just don't
tried
get
to-
the email for them.
One right before we came up here.
I did too.
Probably the same one.
Yeah. Basically, science fiction and literature collide when stories invade reality, and only an English professor and a research librarian can save the world from an unhappy ending. We got all kinds of cool stuff out here, and the book is beautiful. If you want to download it's a standalone 8-page story. It's called No Place Like Home. That Brant lettered, and Pablo Martinena did the art for us on.
Is that the tattoo you're gonna get?
Probably not that one, no. Well, the interesting thing, and the reason tattoos are so important is that the symbols of reality kind of protect you from a crossover. So that's why all the crossover division agents have the world triad symbol tattooed on their hand. That protects them, when a crossover happens, so that they realize that something weird's going on. But the book's out there. It's beautiful. I love working with this team. Even that Brant guy, I don't know what he does. Just like everything, I guess. But
that guy, man.
That guy, whoever he is. All right. Well, we'll go to Last Ember now. Here we go. So tell us a bit about Last Ember, if we can hear it this time.
Yeah, hopefully. So The Last Ember is about a teenage girl named Ember who gets imbued with the ability to create and control fire. She later learns out that she is the last incarnate fire goddess, last of her kind. And in this arc, there is a serial killer hunting down mythological beings, and he's on his way to Ember. In the meantime, she's dealing with family drama, bullies, and all kinds of other stuff. And by the end of this arc, everything will have changed for her world. It's urban fantasy, mystery, and really gorgeous art that I'm super proud of and super stoked to have on my book. So,
and this is the crossover print that you can get signed either digitally or physically at any backing. So hopefully you guys could go check that out. It'll also be numbered for the printed version of it. So that's pretty cool. Let me see if there's any other questions we had before we go.
Actually, if there's not, I have a lightning round question. But let's go ahead and get to the watchers first, if there's any out there.
Yeah, one question. GoFundMe wasn't around when you made issue 1 of Like Father, Like Daughter. Well, I haven't used GoFundMe, but we did use Kickstarter for Like Father, Like Daughter issue 1. So we've used Kickstarter for almost every issue. Issue 3, we self-funded. We were experimenting, and then we're like, why would we do that if we could fund through Kickstarter? So that was stupid on my part, but you have to try. And then for issue 5 was included with the trade. So we unlocked for a stretch goal to make issue 5 as well. So that's why you won't see a Kickstarter for those. But other than that, I've done Kickstarter for all the issues.
I did want to plug one thing before Will asks this question. I have Black Friday deals that end at midnight Central Time, so in about 2.5 hours. Yeah. So yeah, go check that out. They're all on the page at the close to the top, so you'll be able to see them. So.
Okay,
those Black Friday deals.
So earlier we talked about serializing comics on Kickstarter. I have an end point for crossover division. I know roughly how many issues it's going to take to tell the story. Do you guys have an endpoint for Like Father, Like Daughter, or for Last Ember? I mean, how many issues do you think? Am I just putting you on the spot here?
It's a good question. Might not be lightning round, but I don't care because we don't need lightning round. We could talk for another 20 minutes. I'm cool with that. Yeah, for me, it's ongoing. There's always been a set ending for issue 8, and I always say the book changes after issue 8. Brant knows what happens. I think he can agree. The book won't look the same after issue 8. So it's going to be almost a different book. Like there's very few people that know what happens. Brant is one. My friend Phil is one. And my friend Phil has even said that there's a possibility of even rebranding the comic, which would be kind of interesting because it's the ending of the point. I don't think I would do that. I think I'd still kind of keep it what it is, but like that's also interesting with serialization. Do you want to, you could go on Brant's route. He has the same story, but he is doing like kind of different. Every story arc is going to be called something different. So like Folly Daughter, I could go to issue 9, or do you call it something different? We'll have to see. I always think that Kickstarter is more impressive with serialization, in the opposite of the direct market, where that means lower sales. I actually do feel like more people are interested to see that you've invested time and they're gonna get that issue. So they're like, oh, a lot of issues, that's good. That means you'll probably deliver, and you probably know what you're doing. So that's still up to debate what's gonna end up happening with that. But I have no end in mind. It's very much Spider-Man, Superman-esque in that way, but every arc has an end, and let's just say this arc ends. This arc has an ending.
Yeah, for me, mine's also more ongoing, but like Kat said, told in arcs. So each arc is going to have your beginning, middle, and end, and I'm kind of like hunted as 4 issues. So those 4 issues will be a complete story. There is the prequel thing, which because originally I had started it to just go completely ongoing, and because I had changed the art team, and changing the art team kind of forced me to change the direction a little bit because of the gorgeous art. I kind of changed the tone just slightly, and taken it in a little bit of a more serious direction than it was in that first in the prequel and Reforged. So yeah, that's kind of the way I'm building upon it, but it's still like internally I'm thinking of Last Ember Hunted #1 is actually issue 2. So it's kind of like that. And who knows as far as it goes, where we'll get to, and if I maybe pull Marvel and renumber it at some point. But yeah, as far as an ending site goes, no, I've actually always envisioned The Last Ember as the first in a universe of characters.
Well, cool. So I really like kind of where Kat's head is at, because with Crossover Division, I feel like I'm going to be doing it in 4-issue arcs, but I really want those higher numbers. So I don't want to just say, this arc, and you could do the double numbering thing, I guess, kind of like, what was it? The Hellboy series for a while was double numbered.
Marvel does that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also just make it known as new reader friendly. I think, if your new arc is new reader friendly, it's like, this is a jumping on point. You don't have to read the previous issues if you don't want to.
Well, and that brings up another question. As far as collections go, I mean, there's a part of me that wants a 20-issue omnibus, something that you can actually kill somebody with, this is my work, of 20 issues of Crossover Division. But one of the things I think in kind of constructing that overall arc that I did is there is a point where there's forward momentum as far as the overall arc, but there's a place where we can insert other issues. That ending doesn't have to come at 20 issues. We can stretch out kind of the middle some with, other adventures and other arcs, so that it could go on longer. But for me, I think I know what that last page looks like already in my head of the series. I know how it ends, and I guess you guys are probably this way too. I've been working on #1, and I'm like, hey, I wrote this, months ago. I'm ready for art on #2. Let's get to work on #2 now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's hard. For me anyway. It's hard not to, I guess, get ahead of myself, because hey, first off, I've got this Kickstarter has to run. We've got a fund, and then fulfillment, and then I can start working on #2. And I kind of feel like Kickstarter, maybe the way that we're doing and funding these things kind of helps enforce a little bit of that discipline, so that we have to stay focused. Here's issue 1, here's the Kickstarter, here's this part done, go to #2. I think that's really cool.
Kickstarter is also a gambling addiction, so like as much as it's like as much as you're for sure, it's like it's that same energy that you probably shouldn't be gambling with is the one that you're using for Kickstarter. You got a little bit of an addiction there. Yeah, but that's true. I think as a writer, you have a lot of plans. You just want to keep working. You want to keep doing stuff, but things sadly take time. And you're just like, oh my God.
But artists deserve lives, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of good because, like, if you're not on Kickstarter, people they're used to that monthly schedule with books. So it's like when you go a long time in between issues. Otherwise, outside of Kickstarter, it's like people may forget about you and they may, move on or whatever. But on Kickstarter, it's like it's more expected that you're going to take a little bit longer because of all those steps. So it's a little more forgiving. And then you're still in that atmosphere. So they're anticipating it, and they see, like, if they're following you on Kickstarter, they get updates when, they launched a new project. I'm going to go check it out and all that kind of stuff. So, and I do want to say that if this art does really well on Kickstarter, I may just come out with The Last Ember #5 and just change the name of it. From Hunted to something else, but we'll see.
How do you guys feel about collections? I mean, I know, Kat, you've done, was it the first 4?
Yeah, first 4, and then I had extras. Love them. They're so much easier to sell, and you make so much more money on them. Like, I'm not trying to be that person, but comics is also a business, and I was so upset we didn't do Comic-Cons this year because the trades would have been so much easier to sell. The single issues were really they're harder to sell. I was able to sell them, but they're not, especially a collection. Like, it was easier to sell issue 1, but to sell like 2, 3, and 4, I'd maybe get like 10 of those at a convention, which is not bad. But if I had the trade, I would have sold a lot more. They're so much easier. So I love them, and I do not print the single issues after that. So in that regard, for collectors, they aren't made anymore. So I hope collectors feel special because they only have a certain amount. I don't see why I should print more of issue 2 if I have a trade. I'm actually not printing more of issue 1. So those are the only issue 1s we're going to have. And if you want the rest, you either buy it digitally or you could buy it through the trade. So that's kind of been my mentality.
Yeah, and I think that's a sound strategy. It's, because you got that collected edition now, so why would you continue pouring money into single issues? Especially at this, at an independent level. I love collections too. All the stuff that I read, except, aside from the mainstream weekly stuff that we do for the shows and stuff, I tend to gravitate towards trades because, like a lot of people, I like those complete stories. And like you said, Will, I definitely want to have like this big omnibus of my work at some point. And so, The Last Ember Hunted is going to be a trade, and then later on, maybe it'll be, I'll do a larger version that has like 2 or 3 arcs or whatever. That's kind of the internal plan if things continue to go well. So,
no, you go, Will. I just want to answer this. Oh yeah, you go.
Do you think? I mean, I think I like what Brant says. Hey, here's the first 4 issues. Here's the second 4 issues. Here's the third 4 issues. Oh, and also here's one that collects all 12, and maybe it's a hardcover, or maybe it's oversized, with all kinds of extras and stuff in it. I mean, I am crazy. I know that, you guys. I'm going to give you one of the reasons that I'm crazy. There are series that I just love. Planetary is one of those series. I have the issues. I have the trades. I have the hardcovers, I have the absolute editions, and I have the omnibus. It's all the same story.
But you like having them, yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of, it's obviously I was the target market for all of those things, but I think those different packaging of those stories, and potentially I hope, my stories, maybe appeals to different readers. It's because it's cool to be able to say, hey, you can go to my store, or you can go to Barnes and Noble or wherever and pick up this 12 issue trade of all kinds of or 12 issue hardcover of the entire story up to that point. It's pretty awesome.
We do have an interesting question from SM Down. I don't know where this is going, but did you tell Brant what happens, or did you email or write it? Are you expecting Brant to copy and paste it for you to? I honestly don't remember. I think I told him. I don't think I wrote it down, but I'm pretty sure I told him. I don't know why you need that information, but
I think previous issues written, but no, I think you just told me about issue 8.
Yeah, and issue 8. Well, if someone wants to pay $250, I'll write it for you, because that's the fear. Is you got the spoiler. So as I'm down, you interested? That's the
things
you can find out.
Yeah.
Find out where it goes. That was an interesting question. SM Down also says, I have every issue of Like Father, Like Daughter. I feel more special now. See, that's why I do it.
Awesome.
It's more of a collector. Yeah. Well, also, again, like Brant said, like it just doesn't make sense business-wise to print. The only one that might make sense business-wise is issue 1, but I don't want to do that.
It's like when I came out with Reforged, which combines issue 0 and issue 1, which is the full prequel. I decided not to print 0 and 1 individually anymore, so it's kind of the same thing.
Which is a beautiful book, by the way.
Okay, SM Down acts this. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh. I was just wondering if Brant got to read issue 8 before everyone else. Brant has the chance. He doesn't have time to read my stuff right now unless he's lettering it.
I mean,
he knows. Brant has the chance. He'll read it before anyone else. If that makes him happy, it just will be.
Of course, because I'll be lettering it.
Yeah. He has not read it. He just knows what happens. The only person who has read issue 8 is my friend Phil. Is literally the only person who's read it. And he's the one who. There is one twist that happens in the book that Brant knows, and that has been planned since the beginning. The second twist that also very much changes the story was actually Phil's idea. I give him kudos. It was one that I was like, because I was kind of stuck on the twist that was originally happens in the middle of the issue. Shocking. So it actually doesn't happen in the end. It happens in the middle, and I was having a little bit of a hard time. So I was just like, I don't know how to end this. I don't, what do I do? It's such a big moment. And my friend Bill, he said, why don't you do this? I'm like, I can't do that. That's crazy. And then like I'm writing, and like 10 minutes later, I called him like, I think I'm going to do that.
That's cool.
So it's been pretty fun, and excited to see where that goes. But I will say that the two things that happened, I don't know. People are not going to expect it for sure. I don't think anyone's going to guess it. I will say in this cast, I've actually given the closest hint to one of them by accident. And I'm like, oh shit. When I was saying it out loud, I was like, oh, people possibly could piece it together. But if you do, kudos. That's only one of the two. I don't care. I'm ready for your pitchforks. What does lettering stuff means? It means those words that appear on the book. I do like, that's Brant. Like I wrote them. Brant puts them in the bubbles. He does all the sound effects. The bubbles is Brant. The words
does the trade dress, designs the look of the book. He's awesome. Yeah. And honestly, I'm going to brag on Brant some. So just get ready, man. The first book in Diary of Night, it was me and the artist, and we brought a letterer, Russ Wooten, who's an awesome letterer. He does a little known book, I think called Walking Dead. It's an indie book that nobody's ever heard of. But I have to say that having the letterer, in this case Brant, in at the beginning of all of this, so making design choices and talking to us about stuff, even just as the art comes in, have my eye looking at it. Is that enough room for the speech bubbles? Do we need to spread things out? Do we need to rewrite something, or do we need to change the art? Having Brant there, and plus having Hassan.
And you just allow Brant to figure it out.
Oh yeah, we just wait till the last minute and just Brant fix it all, make it look good. But having Brant with on board from the beginning to do the designs and being integrated into the whole creative process of the book has been great. Plus, Hassan is a letterer himself, and I love that I have two great letterers. He's not lettering the book, but he's the editor. But having two great letterers looking at this stuff, I mean, I know it's going to look great. And the short story that we did, I think, looks awesome. And I can't wait to see the final lettered book when we get there, because it's lettering is one of those things that I don't think that you can kind of overestimate its importance to the look of a book. Bad lettering can ruin a book straight up. If you can have the greatest art, the greatest writing, but if you're lettering it in oval-shaped balloons with Comic Sans, I'm sorry, your book's gonna suck. Okay.
It might have Comic Sans in the title. Doesn't mean it's for comics.
That's right, exactly. Although I don't know if you guys have seen it. Hassan is a good kind of crazy. He's actually taken some panels from like Dark Knight or some established books and re-lettered certain panels using Comic Sans.
Oh my god!
and he makes it work, but it's nuts. It's totally nuts.
Wow! I've not seen that. That's crazy.
Experimental. That is nuts. Yeah. But yeah, lettering is very important, as Brant knows. I wish I had a better eye for it. I think I've gotten better since Brant has given me some pointers. But I don't think I could ever letter, because it really is. It's talent, and everything that goes into comics is a certain talent that makes a great collaborative process.
One thing I took the lettering course from Comics Experience, and I've actually lettered a couple of books. But when I say lettered, I mean it's base level. You can read the stuff. It's because I don't really have that eye for design. I don't think that because really with lettering, you're designing a page. You're designing the eye flow of a page, and it's really, really difficult to do. I think I've done a few, like a couple of 8-page stories and maybe a 5-page story. And to do the 5-page story, it took me like a month. Okay, that's just not reasonable amount of time. Brant's looking at me like, "Are you crazy? That's stupid." Yeah, it was pretty stupid. But
no.
But I mean, lettering is just, it affects the whole design. I mean, Brant's books. I mean, look at Ember. I mean, that just looks nice. That's a nice looking book. If you look at Russ Wooten's work on Monstress, beautifully designed book, the hardcovers and everything. I mean, they're amazing. Letterers don't get their due, and every chance that I get to make sure that they can get some of their due, I try to take it. So. Awesome work, Brant.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's every discipline that goes into a comic, writing, art, coloring, inking, all of it's very important. All of it's a skill. So
but the writer is the most important.
Book, so
there's a I think it's from Alan Moore's book on writing for comics. He talks about how he religiously counts the number of words per panel, per balloon, and per page. And so I found the text of that, and I've got it in a text file that when I'm writing, I'll finish a page, I'll pull that up and say I've got this many panels, I've got this many. Got this many panels on the page. That means this number of words per panel, no more than this number of words per balloon. And I go back through and I start counting, because there is a balance, and it's something that Brant just does because he can see it, right? Whereas I don't know that I can see it. I always want to make sure that I don't have too many words to overpower the art, and I probably cut a little bit too much sometimes, because after going through Brant and going through Hassan, we have to add some stuff because I've probably left it out a little bit. But I found that that's a crutch that I lean on sometimes is, Alan Moore. It's not like he knows anything about comics.
No.
Not at all. He's only created some of the greatest. But I think that is wrapping us up, guys. Thank you so much for the awesome questions. We had a blast, and again, hopefully you guys could go support the Kickstarters. And I have 8 days left. I have an hour and 15 minutes of my Black Friday sale, which is $3 off the physical book, which means you get it for $7, and the digital bundle, which is $22 instead of $25. And Brant, that's his Black Friday sale as well. What's your exact Black Friday sale, Brant?
So I released Virgin variants for Black Friday weekend only. So there's a reward tier where you can get all the Virgin variants. There's a version of the LEP crate where you can get all the Virgin variants for a discounted price, and then they're also available as add-ons. But all those are going away in about, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes or so. So
go check that out.
Yeah, and remember, once Like Father, Like Daughter #7 ends, that's the last chance to get the print because you have to back all 3. So
exactly,
as soon as her campaign is done, then everybody that's going to get the print has basically already signed up for it by backing all 3 of us.
Yeah, I love as we exit, we get 12 people watching. We do appreciate it. And we've been going for a while, so I would love to do this again. I wish I thought about this earlier, but now we're like heading towards the end of our campaigns. But we'll see. Hopefully one of these days we'll do it again if you guys like to see it. But thank you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks a lot.